Aww, yeah! It's time for another episode of the Comic Book Kaiju. I'm your host, Trent Justin Vactor, and I'm here today with two very special guests. We're going to be talking all about the Rock's latest movie, Black Adam. So we have with us returning, he used to be an MCU expert, but guess what? For today's episode, he's a DCEU expert, Mr. From the Holdo Maneuver, Marc Vibbert! And on the Comic Book Kaiju feed, we had the Holdo Maneuver collaboration episode. So, actually, no, he's a returning guest, Mr. Adam Daniel, award-winning producer, writer, actor, Brooklyn-born, co-founder of Issue 1 Productions, which, by the way, is a very spooky production company focusing on horror films. But let's give a warm round of applause for Mr. Adam Daniel. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir. And might I say, a very fantastic shirt for today's episode, all about Black Adam.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that, like I said. Oh, yeah. Yeah, today's shirt game was very strong. So thank you, my friends, for joining me and for wearing the appropriate attire. But before we talk about Black Adam, I got to talk a little bit about something that I've been taking for a little bit of pick-me-up, a little pep in my step. It's called Magic Mind. It is a energy productivity, kind of energy/productivity shot. So it comes in a little bottle, and you take it every morning with your morning coffee. And I've been taking it, so kind of been feeling the effects. I've built it up in my system a little bit, so I'm not going into it cold or fresh, I should say. But I do want to say that I have had a very positive experience with Magic Mind, just on this journey of trying to stay healthy and then also kind of stay productive. And I actually wanted to ask my guests if there's anything that you guys take on a regular basis, just to kind of wake you up in the morning or give you a little bit of energy. Let's start with our very special guest, Mr. Adam Daniel. Anything that you specifically like to take? Do you have a morning routine or anything that kind of wakes you up?
I don't usually take a lot of caffeine, but I do. I just have vitamins and just make sure I eat something to allow those vitamins to digest properly, so I don't feel like crap.
Yeah.
But I'm a vitamin person. That's kind of I just get my stuff naturally.
Nice, very nice, very healthy. And Mr. Shazam himself, how about you?
Well, I usually take a daily vitamin too, but I guess to kind of connect it all back to what we're talking about this week, I tend to drink, if I do need an energy drink, I'll drink Zoa, which is owned by Mr. Black Adam himself, and even the current cans when I drank earlier today has Black Adam on it. So
nice.
I just figured bring it and tie it back into this era. Here we go.
Right
Very nice.
A picture to prove it.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope that the tie-in to that movie would be delicious and healthy for you. But I did want to talk all about Black Adam. I saw it 2 times over the weekend. I saw it once by myself, and then I saw it again with my wife. And I got to say, my wife loved the film. She thought it was fantastic. She was giving it a standing ovation. She was putting this symbol up in the air. There was a lot of fun going on in that screening. But let's go around the room real quick and give our overall thoughts, overall impressions on Black Adam. Adam, what did you think? Adam, very appropriate. What did you think?
I really enjoyed the movie. I'm glad I did end up going today instead of yesterday. So it was really fresh for me to come into this. And I just thought there was exciting parts. And I'm a huge Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fan, forever. So everything he touches is gold to me, and I think he did it again. I think that what they did with it and how they tied in there were so many little Easter eggs kind of in there too from other nostalgic things from my childhood, even that I enjoyed in the movie that we'll get into later. But I really did enjoy the movie from beginning to end. I was excited about what was coming and what was happening the whole time.
Nice, very nice, and that's exactly, I'm sure, what The Rock wanted. So that is very nice. Let's go over to our DCEU expert, Shazam Vibbert. What did you think?
I liked the movie. Like, it's definitely not a perfect movie, but I really liked the JSA stuff in there. I really particularly liked Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate in the movie. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, like Adam was saying, I like it kind of like how they worked in like Inner Gang and like all these other little things in there. Stuff we'll obviously talk about that happens in the post credits later on. But I did enjoy like all of that throughout and speaking of like being a fan of The Rock for a long time, what I thought was funny is when they showed like the transformation from like Teth Adam to like Black Adam, the like champion version. I was like, hey, look, it's 2008 Dwayne Johnson, and now it's 2022 Dwayne Johnson. So I thought that was kind of funny in the movie.
I haven't gotten any confirmation of this, but do either of you know, was the body double of Teth Adam, and later when they showed his son? Oh yeah, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Black Adam. We're gonna be spoiling the movie. If you haven't seen it, come back later to this podcast. But his son, once he gets the power and transforms, that body double, I think, is the same body as the Teth Adam adult version. I don't know, but was that the guy from the Young Rock show, the one that played him in college? Does anybody know? I haven't even looked it up.
I didn't look it up, but I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I know that he like found that guy. Like, that guy wasn't. Maybe he didn't just find him. He didn't like fall out of the sky, and the Rock was like, "Oh, look what I have here."
I'll look it up while you talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I know they filmed this like 2 years or last year or 2 years ago, and then they got delayed because of COVID, and then it got pushed back. So I was thinking like it was probably when Young Rock was coming out, was maybe when they were filming it. So yeah, that would make a whole lot of sense.
I didn't even think, I wasn't even in that realm of a mindset to even think about that.
I think it was the second time when I was watching it the second time. I was like, who could be a body double for The Rock? And I know he's had body doubles in other movies before, but I think maybe they're trying to do like a consistent thing now. And I know
it's not the guy from Young Rock.
Not the guy.
He's listed as Skinny Teth Adam. That's what he's credited as.
Okay. Skinny
Benjamin
Teth
Patterson.
That's amazing.
I wonder how much Skinny Teth got paid. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
and that was actually something.
He's still in good shape.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I was watching it the first time, I was like, oh, so I knew The Rock's profile, it's like the side of his face, because they didn't show it full on. So I was like, number one, I heard his voice, and then number two, I saw his profile, but I didn't know that was going to be like that twist. I thought it was, because he's the dad of the son, and the son grows up to be him, it only makes sense that they would have him as both characters. Yeah. I had no idea about the twist, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But just my overall thoughts. I also enjoyed it. I think I went in with lower expectations, and I think it's like that with all DC movies until they really prove it to me, which I think the James Gunn Suicide Squad did. That was one that I just was like, I thought it was a fantastic film. But until they start doing that, and maybe Peacemaker's another one, but until they start doing that on a regular basis, I still kind of go into the DC ones a little bit lower expectations than I do for Marvel. So going into it, I was like, all right, it'll be okay. And I think it actually exceeded my expectations. I didn't think it was like the best film of the year. I still think The Batman was probably a better DC movie for this year, but it was a pure popcorn movie, which was exactly what I wanted. I really liked the action sequences and the way that they did both the slow motion and then what you saw like at regular speed, of the way they used his speed. And that was something that I leaned over to my wife and I was like, that's how they should make the Flash movie. The way that he's moving right now, anytime there's a speedster, that's like one of my favorite types of superheroes. So I'm always critical about speedsters, of how they show them and how they show the speed. So in this one, I was like, it feels like when I'm reading a comic, and it kind of places me into that world. And Adam and I were talking a little bit before this, and he was saying that really what you need to do is just get us in the world, put us in that world of a comic book, and we'll take it from there, right? Like our imaginations, and we'll be along for the ride if you can just put us in that world. And I think Black Adam actually was a really good kind of, it did that very well. It put us in that world of Kahndaq, and in this DC universe, made me feel like I was in there, and I was seeing the Justice League posters on the wall, seeing the Flash, Wonder Woman, Batman.
Yeah.
That all of that stuff in the background really added to it, and then the appearance of Amanda Waller and all of those things, it just made me feel more connected, which is what I really want out of these DC movies going forward, because that was the whole appeal of the Marvel movies, was having the connected universe. So like I said, I think it exceeded my expectations. I had a really good time. I'm also, like both of you, I'm a big Rock fan from back when he was wrestling, and his charisma. He's one of those, like, I feel like Tom Cruise, Will Smith, that one of those guys that just his charisma alone can, carry a movie. And that's what the old movie stars, I think, used to be. So, yeah, I had a really good time at Black Adam. Mark, you talked about the Justice Society. Was Pierce Brosnan kind of like your favorite out of the group, or what did you think overall of how they did the Justice Society?
I liked how they worked that in. I thought it was interesting just because of like how the DC films have been. Like, I was trying to track in my head a little bit. I was like, okay, so where has this group technically been around in like the other movies we've already seen too?
Right.
And
they never mentioned them before.
Yeah, because it seems like that, like Hawkman and Dr. Fate have like this long shared history with one another, mostly because both of them lived for such a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Which that was what I was wondering going into the movie too, is like what version of Hawkman were they going to do in this too? And like you already said with spoilers, like when Dr. Fate was like telling him that like he was going to die, I was like, well, that's all right, because he just reincarnates most of the time. Well, I guess depending on which version. But I liked the Atom Smasher. I guess you were telling me that your wife was saying that the actor is apparently like a heartthrob that all the ladies and some dudes
which
like
I did.
As well.
I had no idea when she told me that. I was like, that's news to me.
I thought it was Baby Mark Ruffalo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess he could play a young version of Bruce Banner.
That wasn't Baby Mark Ruffalo. I was confused.
Yeah, I liked the humor with him as Atom Smasher. His suit, like, is that pretty accurate to like an Atom Smasher suit in the comics? Because it felt like very, I guess at least the mask kind of felt almost like Blue Deadpool.
Yes. My wife said that to me. She leaned over and she said, this reminds me of Deadpool. And I also saw that online. So yeah, you're not the only one. I think a lot of people are getting that from there. And he's appeared in those, like the Justice League animated, I think it was Justice League Unlimited where he appeared. It is very accurate to both the comics and the animation. Although most of the time he's sleeveless whenever they show his costume. But yeah, his mask was very accurate.
And speaking of Tuma, I liked the cameo of who he had the suit handed down from. Who originally was Atom Smasher. I was like, I want to see that Atom Smasher.
Right. Yeah. I laughed the entire time. I don't even think I heard his dialogue because I was laughing so hard. Yeah, they
was
could do
a
that.
cameo.
See Adam Smasher as Fonzie hitting like jukeboxes and stuff. But
Yeah.
I liked the actress that played Cyclone as well too. I haven't seen Euphoria, but I thought she was really good in this, and I liked the dynamic between her and Adam Smasher, like how they were like the newbies to that. But then I liked the work of them all together with like kind of like Hawkman and Adam Smasher's kind of back and forth. He's like, you and me, we're gonna have a talk.
Yeah,
So
that was funny.
I think that was my
Although
favorite stuff was like the JSA interaction with Black Adam and like the back and forth with like him learning sarcasm from them and just like that whole back and forth. I found that more engaging than I guess like some of the stuff with like the kid and his mother. I know that was in there to kind of be like a mirror to Teth Adams so that he could see like his wife that was gone and his son that was gone, and that would give him like a reason for like the whole journey. But it kind of bummed me out that like they weren't as interesting to like the overall movie as like the stuff going on with like the JSA and all of that.
Yeah. I kept getting Laura Croft vibes from the mom every time I saw her.
I got that and Marty McFly, just maybe because of the skateboard.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, I leaned over to my friend and I was like, "What is this? Back to the Future?"
Yeah, I mean, I and then even the car was like the Mystery Mobile. It reminded me so much of the Mystery Mobile.
Yeah,
and I was like, those are kind of things that I like though in movies. Like, get me from attack me from all different types of like nostalgia things.
Yeah,
like, just get me. I don't care. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like that's what made it more fun to me. Was those little things to those, like you saw them. Sometimes they're not so obvious. Those two to me seem pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had like the 80s music and like, or just the rock music.
Yeah.
In general, and the rock, the music. But I thought it was a good journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get what you're saying about the mother and the son's story. Like absolutely, it's in there for that reason, to give him that motivation for sure. Yeah, it was like that. That's like we were talking earlier, and those are things I can forgive in movies because that's not what the movie literally just is going to take me on this action-filled journey, and that's what it did for me. And I like the way that they did do the speed. I really enjoyed that. And the whole first, like his intro when he defeated everybody right in the beginning of the movie was just awesome. Like you're just in there.
Yeah.
I just remember I was just sitting back and I'm like, this is like, I was in IMAX and I'm like, this is awesome.
I'm gonna make an assumption that both of you are like me in that when a character is overpowered, like let's say Superman, let's say Black Adam, it's just fun to see them using their powers, like taking out guys, versus a lot of people they're like, oh, when he's overpowered, there's no drama to it because he's just gonna take everybody out. But I've always I've never had a problem with a character being too overpowered. I always feel like the writers will come up with something for him to, for them to go up against. So I was like you, Adam, when I was watching that opening scene, and they had showed that in the trailer where he's floating and they're shooting bullets at him. But when I saw it in context of the movie, I just felt, I'm here on the ride, and it feels like a summer popcorn movie. I'm just in it. And so whenever they showed his powers, I think the story of what was his name, Sabak, the villain overall, that was probably my least interesting part of the movie. I was like, even if they had ended it without Sabak, the journey that he had gone on from the beginning of the movie till when he got locked up, I thought they were going to end it right there at first, actually.
Oh yeah, me too.
So even if they had ended it there, I would have been happy. It wouldn't have been a disappointment to me. But when they added the Sabak thing, it was like this. It just kind of feels like very familiar, very like big blue beam in the sky, and then the Justice League. Remember not Darkseid, but the Steppenwolf on Justice League. It felt kind of like him, like all right, he's a big guy with horns and powers almost feel kind of similar. So that was my only, I think, gripe with it, was that just felt a little bit too familiar, and I wanted to see something different in that aspect.
I think
I saw
I
a
totally
joke.
get that. I think that. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, mine's not that part. It was just that I saw a joke that someone said that DC got to Mephisto before Marvel did.
Yeah,
you would know.
Yeah,
MCU expert. I do think that it almost seemed like it was like they showed it to test audiences, and then test audiences were like, wait, I don't get the ending.
Yeah,
and they were like, let's do that. Let's give those people an ending,
right.
because everybody wants that like happy ending, and him going to jail, was that a happy ending? No, especially underwater where he can't even speak, where they're taking away everything and like sulking him completely. So I could have done without it, but I didn't mind it. It's like, all right, it's almost like they needed a bad guy for him to like lead into something else. Like, okay, or it's almost like they needed to pull him out of the submersion prison to have him for more movies. Almost.
Right.
It's like, where do we go? It could have been built in a totally different like storyline, but I think with everything in flux at Warner Brothers, and like with the whole thing, nobody knows what's going to really happen right now. I think that's kind of, they wanted to end the movie, as opposed to like let somebody else pick it up in a later DCEU film.
Right.
So that's, I get it.
Yeah. Mark, what did you think about the dynamic between Hawkman and Black Adam? And all right, this is a true blue hero, and this is like an anti-hero. This is a guy who will cross the line in order to take people out in order to accomplish his goals. What did you think about the dichotomy between those two?
I enjoyed that. I liked that, at least for the most part, they tried to kind of stick to like the fact that Black Adam is a villain in the comics. He's not meant to be like a hero, or like even like an anti-hero for the most part. He's
actually very similar to Namor now. The way that they're writing him in the more recent stuff, he's been part of the Justice League. He's been kind of helping out some of the heroes. So he's very Namorish, where it's like, oh, sometimes he's good, and then sometimes he's just a villain. He's just a bad guy. So they've kind of played around. Yeah, they kind of played around with that.
That's interesting. Oh, and that actually reminds me, because when they cut to that one shot of like his son turning into the champion. I thought that silhouette that they showed of his son looked very reminiscent of like a comics version of Black Adam.
It looked like it had the Black Adam, like the haircut of Black Adam. So I thought they were going to come in with that. It looked
like he had the pointy ears too. So it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Sometimes actually The Rock even looked like I was like, is he wearing prosthetics? Sometimes his ears looked a little pointy, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think this movie is very interesting also in the career of The Rock, because he's had stuff like, at the very beginning, it was like The Rundown and Southland Tales and stuff like where he was stretching. Yeah, well, Scorpion King, I think that was like a cameo at first. Well, the Mummy, I'm sorry, was a cameo, and then the Scorpion King. But it's interesting the choices he's made over his career, and I was thinking about it today. Pain and Gain and Fast Five, Jumanji, Tooth Fairy. So the more beginning stuff, I thought he was taking a lot more risk, but his more recent stuff, like what was the Rampage, Skyscraper, what was the Earthquake one, like a lot of those.
San Andreas.
Yeah, San Andreas. A lot of those have been feeling very similar to me. Absolutely. And it feels like he's going for that 4-quadrant, like I need to appeal to every Joe Blow in America, and I want him to take more risk. I want him to get back to the more earlier stuff that he's been doing in his career. But I thought this movie, he wasn't necessarily like, oh, The Rock's playing The Rock. It was kind of like he's toned down his charisma, toned down like very subdued version of The Rock. But you could still, I think all of us kind of brought our own Rock history into it, and like, oh, I know him from this, this, and this, and I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to do good. So I thought just the rockness of it was very good. And we'll get to the ending credit or the post-credit scene, but I think where they're going is going to be very fun with The Rock in the DC universe. Now, did you guys see Super Pets?
Yeah.
I'm halfway through that. I haven't, just because my son, who is about 18 months, he hasn't sat still. He'll watch for 30 seconds and then he'll get up and run around. So I haven't got all the way through Super Pets yet, but I was enjoying what he was doing in Super Pets as Crypto, and
Do you want me to spoil some for you in that for the end tag?
Oh, I didn't know there was one. Okay, so there is an end tag.
All I will say is that Black Adam is not the first time that The Rock played Black Adam.
Okay. I will find out. I will find out soon. I definitely want to get caught up on that. And then there was a new Super Sons animated movie that just came out.
That just came out.
Yeah, so I need to get caught up on those. Those are the two DC that I haven't watched yet. But Adam, did you have a favorite character in this overall through Black Adam or through the Justice Society? Did you have a favorite?
I mean, Hawkman was awesome. I mean, his complex, that place was unbelievable.
And that gave me very Professor, like School of Xavier's School of the Gifted.
Absolutely. But I enjoy. He had a good arc.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his whole intention was like, let's get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
And then I think he had one of the most interesting characters for the whole movie, because he went through a lot. Like, he lost his friend, and he's been around. Like we were talking about, like who knows what iteration of him we're looking at right now. But he is just he's an awesome superhero, and I like that. We were talking about the two introductions. I can't. I'm losing my words. But the Atom Smasher, and like I liked having them come in and being introduced in this,
and no origin, like just throw them in there.
I like that because it just gives people like that. If you give somebody their whole story, it doesn't give them the motive, if you will, to go I would go read a comic now, like something that I never would think I'd go read a comic for. Like I'd go into the store and be like, oh, I want to know about that. That's what I like. But Hawkman's just awesome. Just the basically invincibility of him, and how he wields his weapons and uses his wings as the way he can just matriculate in the air and do everything.
Yeah.
He's just a cool superhero. And I think he was played very well too. I think it was very well. He was very well portrayed in this film.
Aldous Hodge did a great job of speaking of charisma, like this whole cast actually. I've been watching a bunch of interviews after I saw the film, and just having them all in the same room together, it's just like, dang, there's like charisma coming out people's ears over here. But I agree with you. The Hawkman storyline and just the way he was portrayed, very like, I want to say like Iron Man, Black Panther-ish. Like they have elements of both characters, and there was actually a lot of Marvel stuff that I thought that they kind of swiped, like even Pierce Brosnan in the helmet, like the heads up display, very Iron Man-ish. But Dr. Fate overall kind of felt very Doctor Strange-ish, like that vibe. I think they just took a lot from Marvel, and they're kind of um, inserting it in with their DC stuff and just kind of like, oh, okay, we see what works here, and let's kind of meld it in with ours. So, yeah, I very much liked a lot of the same things that Adam was talking about, the way that they inserted everybody, the way that they kind of just hit the ground running, and you just like every character. Like there's no, I didn't think there was like a weak link in any of the Justice Society. Everybody did in like a limited role because you know you have to spread time out between everybody. I think everybody had like their own little moments and their funny quips and stuff. So yeah, I can't say too much wrong about the movie. Mr. Vibbert, I think we had a talk outside of the podcast. Was there anything that kind of stands out to you specifically as you want to see them improve in the next movie? Like the writing, you know, the casting. Is there anything specifically that jumped out to you? You said, man, I wish they would have did this a little bit better.
I think just the writing, just to make it like a little bit tighter, because like 2/3 of the movie was really well written, but then there's just like certain spots like with like the villain, like with that, like how that kind of was like a little not as well developed as I guess it could have been in there. And then I did like I can't remember like their names, but like the mom and the son, I did like them, but I did kind of wish they felt kind of almost like generic like characters.
Yeah, right.
So I would have liked them to, I don't know exactly how to express it, other than to like make them a little bit more like unique of characters, or have
stand out
just
more.
a little bit better, like characteristics to them, rather than the kind of making feeling like certain archetypes to them. Like you had said, like you got like kind of like Laura Croft vibes from the mom, and then like I would like to see like like when we get to like the end text stuff, there's like certain things that I would like to see of interacting with Black Adam in future films. I did like that we saw Digimon Hansu in here again as the wizard from the Shazam movies. So I liked that they actually did retell that kind of origin again with like the Shazam powers. And, like,
all the wizards.
They even like capitalized like the letters for it, and the fact that he actually likes the Shazam stuff in the movie. Because I want to say in the Shazam movie that they do kind of hint at like Black Adam in that.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly, but they do kind of a little bit talk about it. So I would like to see Zachary Levi versus Dwayne Johnson at some point.
Yeah, that would be interesting because, and I think we can just get into the post-credit scene because The Rock himself already spoiled it, and he was like,
Henry Cavill spoiled
it. Henry Cavill
waited until Monday.
Right. Yeah, the Rock. I don't know why he was. The only thing I could think of was maybe the ticket sales weren't what they thought they were going to be. So The Rock is like, all right, I gotta drum up business. I gotta get everybody excited. But I think I would have preferred not knowing that secret, going into it and being like, oh, there he is. Like, because there's been so much speculation about what Henry Cavill is going to do. Is he going to go into Marvel? Is he going to stay with DC? Like, what's going on with Henry Cavill? Because we haven't seen him in so long. So once he came out, I had a smile ear to ear. The John Williams music playing. He had the S curl on his hair.
Yes.
I was like, this is everything I've wanted. This is we need this in our lives. Give us more. And I think all of us are pretty big Superman fans overall.
Yes.
Mark, what did you think about that end credit sequence of how they set up the future of the DCEU?
I thought that was kind of interesting. I did get very happy when like I saw like how they did like his appearance, like you're saying, like the S curl. I liked that his suit was a little bit brighter and less muted than it has been. That was like one of the only things that I did really like about the Justice League was like how much brighter
the colors,
brighter his suit was in that movie than it had been like in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that actually bummed me out about like the Snyder cut version of that was that he just wore like the black and gray version of it like the entire time. But I did enjoy seeing that. I thought it was kind of weird that he was at like basically like the beck and call of Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It seemed like.
Yeah.
I was
so
like, that's.
Adam, do you think that's from Suicide Squad, where Idris Elba's character, like he had shot Superman, and I'm sure they kind of like did something to save him. I wonder if that was like Amanda Waller was like, all right, I'm gonna save you, and then you owe me, like you're gonna be in my back pocket.
Does Amanda Waller do anything without some sort of stipulation attached
Right.
to it, or like favor? Nah, that's what it was all about. Like,
Right.
we can save you, but when I need you for this certain, because they established in the movie that they've known about him that he was buried for 5,000 years. So that's the thing about Amanda Waller, is that she's so smart. I don't think that people really understand sometimes how smart she is.
As like
manipulation,
a tactician,
and just playing her cards. She holds everything close to the vest, and nobody knows what she's thinking ever.
And they did a great job of locking up Viola Davis for that role. Like she's come back so many times, and I like how they have her like in the Nick Fury role almost in this one now, where it's like she's the head of everything, and she has her foot in every pot. Like she knows everything that's going on. Mark, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, like speaking of James Gunn and Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad, it was nice to see Jennifer Holland show up in this too, James Gunn's new wife. So it was cool to see like her little interaction with that. I was like, oh, I wonder if we'll get anything maybe with a wrestling reunion between two people in season 2 of Peacemaker because of like all that. So I think that could be cool to
like the way
I just think it'd be funny to see like what they could do like with the comedy of Peacemaker and Black Adam.
Yeah.
I just when you said that, I thought immediately of like how the WWE pushed Cena on everybody after The Rock left to be like their new new Tony. And he like completely failed and has apologized for it. So that's just, to me, that's funny. Like for that interaction to happen on the show, it'd be perfect symmetry, I think, for their careers. And as a fan, like that'd be so much fun.
It's interesting that those two have kind of been I think the breakout stars like that have come out of wrestling where they've actually had careers. They've had solid work versus, let's say, like Triple H or somebody where he was in Blade Trinity and you never saw him again.
Oh, yeah.
There's been
Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred.
Oh yeah, Hogan was the first one. Yeah,
Mr. Nanny.
Yeah, well, I didn't mind
High Noon or whatever that one was called.
Yeah, Mr. Nanny I thought was funny when I was a kid. I haven't seen it since. And No Holds Barred, I was like, as a kid, I was like, yeah, but I haven't seen him recently. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, what's his name? The Miz. Like they've had so many wrestlers who they try to push into, and WWE even has their own like movie studio. So they've tried to kind of push them. Oh, and Stone Cold in The Expendables.
Oh yeah.
Like they've had a ton of them, but The Rock and John Cena, I think, are like legitimate action stars, and people, they like them. They keep going back to see them in the theater over and over again. So I think that would be interesting to have kind of a connection between those two.
Yeah, I think they were able to transcend it due to what you were talking about earlier, charisma. Like You need to appeal. Wrestling is absolutely a very specific thing to watch. Like, I don't watch it anymore. I haven't watched basically since The Rock left, but I have a cousin who has the
Yeah, me too.
WWE subscription. I know people
Yeah.
that have it. It's just a very different type of fan.
Right.
And yes, you're going to get them to go to like The Rock's always going to have those guys, and Cena's always going to have those guys come to their movies, and girls, and whoever. Everybody's going to go see their movies, but to be able to transcend that wrestling audience into, I don't want to say that, sophisticated is the only word I can think of right now. To transcend into that sophistication of an audience. And I think what The Rock did earlier in his career, you were saying he took more chances. He played real people.
Yeah.
Gridiron Gang was a real guy. Walking Tall was a real guy. What's the Travolta movie too, where he played the
Be Cool.
Yeah, that to me was his like coming out as a real actor kind of part.
Yeah.
Because that role to me showed you a completely different side of who he is and can be as a performer outside of the squared circle.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good point. Adam,
Even like
as
Get Smart too.
Oh yeah, Get Smart. Another good example. Adam, as the only one here who's wearing a Superman shirt. What were your thoughts on that post-credit sequence? Did it live up to your expectations? Like, did you like it?
I mean, if you're gonna put Superman on my screen, even in Shazam when he was just on the screen, I was like, yeah.
Oh,
what I mean?
Didn't even see his face.
You see the
Yeah.
suit. But as soon as because it's coming, since it was spoiled, so
right.
I had the anticipation. But I loved it. I think it's cool. I think we were talking about earlier about writing, how they're going to take it. I find it interesting to see where they're going to take that relationship, because he's coming to him. Superman's coming to Black Adam because he needs a favor. We need to talk. Look, we need to come together to do something. So is he going to be like the antagonist, or is he going to, how are they going to work him into those other characters?
Yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting, especially because how are they going to tie in Kahndaq, his home country? Because like his whole motivation is tied to them, and he's a hero in their eyes. Amanda Waller said, "This is going to be your prison. You have to stay here." Are they going to keep that, or is there going to be some threat or something like Superman fight or something that takes him out of Kahndaq? So yeah, I think going forward, that's going to be very interesting to see what they specifically do with that. And The Rock, his influence as a producer, I think, is going to be very interesting, because I feel like he really kind of bullishly like pushed this movie forward, got it made, because he got cast like 15 years ago. And I think just his The Rock himself is the reason why this movie was made. And going forward, I think he's also kind of like very similar to Will Smith, where it's like he may not, and Tom Cruise, he may not be the director, but as a producer, I think he has a lot of power. Even the reports have come out where he went to DC's heads and asked them to use Henry Cavill, and they said no. And then he went and filmed it anyway with Henry Cavill. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see. And that was I think the thing about him talking about the hierarchy of power has changed in the DC universe. Just kind of his star power, his influence. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward in the DC universe itself, because they came out and said, I think somebody was saying they have to have a 10-year plan like Marvel does, where it's like we need to have these things planned and not just go from 1 to 1 to 1 and hopefully Wonder Woman 2 does well and then we can make another one, and they need to have a more of a plan. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward where they go.
What
specifically with Black Adam?
Marvel's plan so great though was they kept it fluid over those 10 years. Yes, they had a plan, but that plan changed several times because they had the reaction from audience, box office, receipts. They had all that stuff, and they were like, okay, we can do this. That's what DC really needs to do. Is
Yeah.
not try and follow the stories that they told and how they told them, but more just be open and have it be a fluid situation and bring on people that are have the ability to work in those sorts of environments, because that to me is the most important thing, is the fluidity of all of it, is to have it just be able to jump ship. Like if one storyline isn't working and we already have it worked in another, and we already have it written into another script, let's change that storyline a little bit, and we can change the movie a little bit and then see where that goes. And that's what Marvel did so great.
Yeah.
Is that ability to change. And they did it through like like Disney buying them. They did it through everything. So they were able to, I mean, what Kevin Feige is just a completely different like animal when it comes to that stuff. I like the intricacies of his brain are just like, imagine being like a little robot in there, being like, oh, okay, oh, all right,
Yeah.
like a little R2D2, just like, like that'd be so much fun.
It is interesting because I'm thinking about the Flash movie and how has that kind of changed with the Ezra Miller stuff and the other movies around it getting pushed. I think however that Flash movie turns out is going to be, to me, the sign of are they on the right track of where they want to go in the future with like the multiverse and all the stuff that time travel, whatever that they're doing in this Flash movie. So I'll be very interested to see where that goes. But yeah, I think this was a good film, good popcorn movie. Not necessarily like I said, not my favorite movie of the year, not the best movie, but I had a very good time at Black Adam, and I'm glad that you too did as well. Is there a specific DC movie that you're looking forward to next, Mark, that you want to see?
Ooh. Fury the I was originally like, it was gonna be nice because like, wasn't Fury of the Gods, it was supposed to come out in December originally, so it would have been like, we got this, and
October.
then like a month and a half later would have got basically a follow-up to it, which it's what's funny more about that joke now in the Fury of the Gods trailers, like where he's seen all the Fast and Furious movies. There's like two layers to that beyond like just him saying that to Helen Mirren, who's been in the Fast and Furious movies. But if Shazam also fights Black Adam, then Black Adam was also in those Fast and the Furious movies too.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe there's some stuff that they did for Fury of the Gods 2 that'll connect maybe to some of the stuff in Black Adam. And I liked that the cameo that we got in Black Adam wasn't like this, like it was in Shazam. So I'm hoping, because obviously because of the first Shazam movie, that like he knows Superman and now Superman knows Black Adam, that eventually all three of these characters will interact in some way, because I really liked that animated like shorter film they did years ago, where the three of them like fought in that. So I would like to very much see that in like a live action film. So that's what I'm looking forward to next, just because I really like Zachary Levi as Shazam, so I'd like to see more of that.
I also would highly recommend that Superman Shazam: The Return of Black Adam from 2010. Fantastic short animated film, and that's actually the one that I showed my wife when I was like, all right, to get you ready for this character, this is like the thing that I'm going to show you. Highly recommend. It's on HBO Max, if anybody remembers that.
I remember that.
But I think that was a very good discussion that we had, fellas. I'd like to thank Mr. Adam Daniel for joining us. Like I said, we had you on for our Comic Book Kaiju Holdo collaboration for Andor. So thank you very much for coming on the Comic Book Kaiju. Anything you got coming up that you want to promote, or anything you're excited about coming out?
Excited about Black Panther.
Ooh, yes. I think
not excited about sitting in a theater and crying, but excited. I'm really looking forward to that movie. To see.
Yeah,
You know.
I think that is going to be my favorite movie when 2022 is all said and done. I think Wakanda Forever is going to be my favorite, but I don't want to go in with too high expectations.
No. I personally am going into it with high expectations just for Ryan Coogler.
Yes,
I'm a huge fan of his work.
Yes.
And I think I'm pretty sure everything he's done, I've thoroughly enjoyed. Like,
nice.
100% enjoyed everything he's done.
Nice.
But that's what I'm looking forward to. Plugging stuff, meh. I could just say we just shot another short film. This one's like a cutesy horror film. We had our friend's baby. He's 2. He's not a baby, but he's a baby. In comparative to me being 42, he's a baby. That we just shot that is coming out hopefully by the end of the month. We were supposed to have some stuff come out already. It's just we're all busy with our lives, and sometimes small production companies, we gotta move stuff along in our own personal lives before we can work on our art.
Right.
But that's, if you want to follow Issue 1 Productions, all that stuff can go on Instagram specifically. Will go up eventually, and then our YouTube channel will be where all that stuff lives. Same.
Nice.
Issue 1 Productions.
Excellent. And you're always welcome on Comic Book Kaiju. Any type of comic book thing that you want to talk about, you're always welcome to join us for that.
Awesome.
So thank you very much. And Mr. Vibbert, we got the Holdo Maneuver, the new episode of Andor is coming out this week, as well as the Tales of the Jedi. Ooh,
yeah.
I can't wait.
So, yeah.
And you also got
Animation
Animation Fascination.
Yeah, I was going to say Animation Fascination is going to kind of do like a Holdo crossover this week where Mike's going to come on Animation Fascination and join me with Stanford on there to talk about Tales of the Jedi. And then Stanford is going to come on Holdo Maneuver to talk about Andor this week, as well as we're going to get Ralph from the live action Star Wars podcast. So there's going to be a lot of people on Holdo Maneuver this week.
Nice.
But, yeah, I'm glad Adam could be on this week. When I worked with Adam last year, I remember he told me the story, like anything that you work on, that's not like local to you, you'll find wherever the closest comic book shop is to like the hotel that they have you standing at, go grab it. And the reason his production company is called Issue 1 Productions is that he specifically likes to collect issue number 1 of different comics.
Nice.
That's a little backstory of that. So that's why I figured you guys would interact very well, and that you would like being on the show with Vactor too. So
yeah,
excellent.
Appreciate it. I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah,
that was the best thing about working on Double Shot of Love.
I don't even remember the name of it. What? I don't remember.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, my friends, for joining me. Thank you very much, listeners and viewers, for joining us as well. We would like to say that Mr. DCEU expert Marc Vibbert and Issue 1 Productions Adam Daniel love comics, and you should too.